Welcome back to Important Library Stuff, a podcast where library staff share the inside scoop on all the stuff that happens at Prince William Public Libraries. And trust us, it's a lot of stuff. I'm your host, Emily Bickers, media specialist from the Office of Communications and Marketing, and I'm joined by guests who know a lot more on each episode's topic than I do, which for this episode, in honor of Earth Day next Monday, April 22nd, is about our sustainability initiatives and our outdoor spaces. I'm happy to be joined by two members of our environmental work group, Robin Sofji, who is the branch manager of Potomac Library, and Branddon Palizzi, who is the maintenance supervisor of PWPL. Can you introduce yourselves by sharing 3 books you love?
Absolutely. You're speaking my language. So The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. It's a 2023 awesome book. Call You When I Land by Nikki Vargas, another 2023, an excellent book, a light read. And then the third one, I was introduced by my writing group, and it's You, the Story, A Writer's Guide to Craft Through Memory by Ruta Sepetys. It's 2023, and I love it because even I've been talking to my mom who's out of state, and it's like we're able to do some like little memoir things, which is a blast.
Well, it's cool that you found all 3 from last year, really, or recent releases.
Yeah, well, and another great thing about the library, it's like you can get all of these great resources for free. It's like I love the way that we do have a lot of these books, which you can get for free. We have a lot of online resources, which are totally amazing. LinkedIn Learning, we have a lot of resources if you're a job seeker. So many resources if you're like a homeowner, just a lot of great deals.
All right. And Branddon, I know you told me a little bit before the podcast that you are not a big reader.
I am a big reader, but not of the normal stream of trying to get books, specifically going out and finding books to read, that have big titles. I read often a lot of stuff on code, how to do how-tos, fixes, like a lot of YouTube stuff. So I have a tendency to go that direction a little bit more than actually going to get books. But my family are ultimate book readers. We have 15 book stacks at the house, and my little girls go to the library and always find books that they can finish reading their little series on.
That's great. All right, so to the main topic, what is sustainability?
I wrote the definition down. You'll love this. All right, this little short excerpt of this is the support of ecological, human, and economic health and vitality. Now, I think a lot of how that can be interpreted is how do you use the resources around you that impact the cost of things, the environment, and you can continue to use them without having a repercussion of waste, I think is a good way of looking at it. And that's what we try to do here. We try to do that every day. We try to. That's libraries. Look, constant reuse of books.
No, Branddon, totally agree with you. We definitely are about good stewardship. And it's like not even just about the books. It's like I know at my library, we even have some furniture that I think came from the courthouse. It was like things that they don't want. And we've given items that we don't use. I know your group has been instrumental.
We're the transfer group. Oh, yeah.
You guys are awesome. So we
that.
definitely, we are so trying to use our resources in the best possible way that save the environment so stuff doesn't end up in the landfill. And just, help our public.
Why is it important to think about sustainability every day and not just on Earth Day?
I think if you think about it, if you create a better way to rely less on a one-time use thinking and materials, it makes it, and start to make it a habit and start thinking about how to use less or what can help the environment, things will usually fall into place and become a good practice from then on out. So if you kind of get that in your mind, hey, what can I use that I don't have to throw away is a good thinking about, good way to think about it. What can I use that I don't have to throw away that I can reuse again and again and again? That's the way I think I try to look at that. I try not to use straws. Whenever I go out, I get cups and I don't use straws. I reuse bags instead of using plastic or the paper bags. Try to think about what you can do to reuse something again and again and again without having to throw it away. I guess it's the best way to think about it.
Well, you pretty much captured it, Branddon. I definitely agree with you. And sometimes you can go to a lot of different events, or my husband goes to a lot of conferences, and you do get a lot of those bags. But even one way that I've reused them is just putting those, when I'm mailing out a package, like a birthday present or something like that, use that as packaging so you're not doing the plastic. Because I'm with you about just less on all of this packaging. It's like and the little steps. And I think another reason, in the libraries especially, it's like we want to make a positive difference. I think so many people in our profession, we're committed to it, regardless of your role. It's like professionally, personally, And just, I know personally with my kids, I want there to be like a good earth for them, and just the future generations, and just what we can do now can just make such a big difference. As we see these little differences make such a big difference on other areas of our life.
As you mentioned before, Branddon, at its core, the whole concept of libraries is based around sharing knowledge in a sustainable way. When a book or other piece of media is no longer needed by someone, they're passed on and reused by someone else instead of just being discarded, or sometimes put in like an attic that you forgot about. But of course, there are always ways to make any system run more efficiently and become more sustainable. So what would a sustainable library system look like to you?
I think the use of resources that are lessened, or we use less of something, and also plan to have a dual long-term purpose if you do have to use it. Like Robin said, if we often use furniture at one site and it either becomes obsolete or not needed, we go to another site, or we ask around, does anybody else have the need for this, instead of trying to get rid of it or send it to the landfill. Or we ask other agencies often, a lot of times, if we can have stuff or if they would like stuff. Friends of the groups also. We try to see if we can, spread some of the things we have around to try to make sure we utilize the every single bit out of everything that we can.
And one thing that I like that Branddon said, it's like we are constantly evolving. It's like we are not like a static system. It's like we have people that are energetic and energized. We have somebody even in our library system that is just such a go-getter and getting grants that supports a lot of these environmental initiatives. And we've got staff that just steps up with these really creative ideas. So ours is changing all the time. And it's like we are just following the trends, and we're trying to, be right up there, like by making these positive differences and making a positive impact in our community.
So what has PWPL done so far to achieve sustainability?
At least on the building side, lights at all 12 locations have been replaced. There's a few here and there that we're not able to replace. Buildings and grounds, property management, and library facilities can't replace because they're just certain spots and weird things. But I think we've replaced up to 98% of the lights from the original lights to the new LEDs. We often use better building materials or eco-friendly stuff. We often try to go to property management with our architect representative for our buildings, and we ask her if there's any products that are green or warranted. So instead of throwing stuff away, we might end up paying a little bit more so that we get stuff that's appropriate that we can actually have for a lot longer than just a quick, cheap long-term turnaround of like the chairs. We started getting better chairs that have more environmental friendly products put into them, or, even stuff that's just built to a higher quality so that it doesn't go away quick or burn out quick, and then we have to find something to do with it. We try to make sure that we practice using better materials or eco-friendly LED type stuff.
One thing I just wanted to add with the LED project, it was so impressive, the amount of work that went into that, because it's like the public may not know, but I know these guys came in, there were like a team of people, and it took them, I know just in my building alone, they were in there for quite a long time. They tried to work on the hours that the public wasn't in there, so the public may not be as aware of how much effort really has gone into a lot of these things because they're not as obvious, but just the amount of energy savings is phenomenal. And I think another way that we also do, we do a lot of programming. We do a lot of programming for the youth, a lot of different STEM projects, a lot of education. Libraries are fun. We're great for families. I know when my kids were little, they were like phenomenal. You have all of these free programs that you can go to, and just a variety. And we have a variety of different kinds of things at different branches because some are system-wide, but then we have different staff at these different branches, and people have different passions, and they bring these passions to the library. Yep. And this shows in the programming, and not only just for the youth, but we also have those for the teens. We have those for the adults. We partner with other groups that have a lot of knowledge about this. We may not be the expert in anything. And I think also the resources. We have a lot of materials. We have a lot of print materials. We have a lot of digital materials. So I think it's good to even find some of these resources, even different online newspapers if you want to catch up on what's going on in the world with these different topics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also heard about the benches.
Oh,
Talk about that.
The Next Trex benches, yes. And we have 3 benches that have been installed. that our team's put together, and we've located at 3 of the libraries. And then we have one that's in the works from the end of last year that we still have to get. And we have one that we're working on, still building to be able to add to the collection.
So what are the benches made of?
Okay, yeah, this is neat. All right, so there's different composites and materials that you can combine together to create a solid wood-like substance. And the Trex company, they take plastic bags. And this started from, I don't know which company. It was one of the trash companies. I know that we went out to American Recycling, and they have this little conveyor belt, and they have a bunch of people that are picking through this stuff, and they separate all the trash, throw these bags up in this little vacuum cleaner thing, and they take the bags, they clean them out, wash them out, do whatever they can to get them to where they're usable again somewhat. They melt them, and then they combine sawdust, if I'm not mistaken, and there might be a couple other proprietary materials they put in there to create these like plastic wood slats that look very similar to wood, and they're temperature friendly. They last for a very, very long time. I think it was like 75 to 100 years or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're awesome. It's still plastic, but it's the reuse of plastic for something that lasts way longer.
Absolutely. And is a very functional item now.
Yes. It's good stuff. It's good program.
That's one of the more visible sustainability programs we have, because it's actually patrons who have been bringing in those bags to become those benches. And then another one I think people may have noticed is our refillable water bottle stations, which are now at almost every branch.
Yes, this past I believe this past December 2023. Jennifer Bader, that works for the risk and wellness. She's the supervisor manager for that area now. She has worked with Buildings and Grounds and I to get these in starting from 2014, and finally got them all in the buildings. Thank you to her and Buildings and Grounds for installing. We have, I believe, 12 water bottle stations at all the sites now, water bottle refill stations, and they're awesome.
They are awesome. And one thing we've done at my library is in the past for programs, we would lug in these plastic water bottles, and you think of those things that, for people that don't bring the recyclables and you wanted to provide something, especially for a LinkedIn Learning and dinner program, and you want to provide a beverage. But now what we do is we've got these carafes that look like they're something you would get at a restaurant. We fill them up with water from the water fountain, and we will provide some little cups, but it's just the awareness for people to say, oh, I didn't know you had a water fountain. And the water fountain, the new one, is very modern, and the water tastes really good. That's the one thing that I can personally attest to, and I know people do say it just tastes really good.
Yeah, the filtration is really good on it.
Yes.
This is a good example of why thinking about sustainability every single day and small things can add up over time. How many water bottles have been saved by these refilling stations?
We take the stats every year. As of December of last year, we've saved 42,190 bottles just in 1 year.
42,000 bottles.
Yes.
Just in libraries.
42,190, yeah. And a lot of the other sites have water bottle refilling stations also, so that's just our 12 sites.
And then you mentioned switching from the old kind of lights to the LED lights, which take fewer kilowatts. So how many kilowatts has that switch saved? So
property management, Kevin Milstead has worked with Buildings and Grounds to get these put in. And so far, as of July of last year, there's been $86,557 saved yearly for our 12 sites. And that was this past July. And that's 877,414 kilowatts of power. But that's pretty good. That's extraordinary.
That's amazing. So I think the number one sustainability tip we may collectively have for our listeners at home is to use the library. Borrowing instead of buying when possible is a great habit that keeps stuff out of our landfills. What are some other ways folks can use the library to live more sustainably?
One thing that we do love is we do love donations, especially of the newer books or the DVDs. Not only do you help the environment, but you also help our programs. We have different friends groups in the libraries. These are volunteers. They work so hard. And a lot of these items that are donated are resold. And it's that pays for these programs, like our phenomenal summer reading program, where we have a lot of these outside performers. So you are doing good for the environment. You're doing good for your community. It's you're doing good for so many families. It's just bringing joy and just helping our earth. I think that's one way you can do it.
I go every week and I purchase books and I purchase stuff. So it's good. It's a good way to support the libraries. Come and see the friends sales.
Well, I'm with you, Brandon. I'm also a consumer of, there's like good stuff in there and just different times you can buy different things for like holiday gifts.
Yeah, gifts especially.
And there are times that people say they may have, someone that they love in their family or friend that they want to be able to have this reused someplace else, if they've like passed on. So it's like really good that it ends up in another good use.
Maker spaces too.
Yeah, maker spaces are phenomenal.
Those are the big. That's the big thing right now. We're building them and putting them in as fast as we can with the director's office and the other library branches. This is great. This is awesome.
When like the whole Cricut craze happened, I was so interested because I'm a big crafter, but I thought about it and it's like I don't really have space for another machine and I don't know how often I would use it. But now whenever I want to use it, I go to the library and they set it up for me and they will do everything that they can do to help me. So it's like not only do I get free use of equipment and the space to use it, but also personalized instruction,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the people that work at those maker spaces, they are phenomenal. They are like passionate about that. So you're getting like, free tech help for this, and some of those projects are, they're gorgeous. And when you did say crafting, it makes me think of Creative Bug. That's like an online resource. There are so many like online resources for magazines and whatever your interest is, there's something for it. We probably have it at the library and it's going to be free. That's such a great thing for the library. Even free legal forms that are online in one of those resources, which is a great use, and paper saver, you know.
And then, as we mentioned before, another one is even if you use reusable bags, sometimes it's hard to escape plastic film that comes in things you buy online. But being able to drop them off and eventually get them recycled into a bench that will be here for, as you said, 75 to 100 years is a better option than just throwing it straight into the trash.
Definitely.
All right. So do you have any other sustainable habits that you've personally picked up that you think folks should give a try? I know Brandon mentioned skipping straws at restaurants.
I got a couple.
You have a few more?
Oh, yeah. I reuse bags. I have reusable water bottles. I donate to thrift stores whenever I'm done with stuff. And I am one of the building maintenance folks, so I have a tendency to fix things. And I hold on to things way longer than I probably should with my family. My wife probably, if she heard this, she reads this or whatever, she'd probably laugh a little bit. But I fix stuff, or I'll turn stuff into things that I can reuse into other things that are other resources. So I hold on to things longer than I should.
I also like to give away things that I no longer want or need. So I have like a little bag, and as soon as it starts to fill up, I take it down to the thrift store and just on the lookout for like different things of reusing something, repurposing things. One time I got a player piano that somebody was giving away. It's fun going into those thrift stores. You can buy something that is going to be like way less expensive, like a picture frame. It's not going to have the packaging. You can find different things. You can find joke gifts for friends. It's like a lot of good things like that.
Another perk about, shopping at our local thrift stores, anytime you shop local, it means that those products aren't being trucked in just for you. Absolutely. And that really saves a lot of carbon emissions in terms of just the transportation.
Absolutely.
Shifting gears a little bit, I also wanted to take this opportunity to talk about all of our amazing outdoor spaces we have at PWPL, especially because the weather is finally getting nice enough to start enjoying them. So why is getting outdoors important?
Exercise, fresh air, sunlight, see nature, just a few, I think. Yeah. It's good to be out. It's good to be outside. It's always good to be outside.
And it seems like it's got good physical and like emotional reasons to be out there.
There's a lot of studies that even looking at pictures of nature trigger happiness in people's brains. So being actually out in nature is a huge mood booster. Yes.
Circadian rhythm too. Look at the sun. Don't look at this. Excuse me. After the eclipse we just had here, don't look at the sun. But put your face up into the sun.
Close your eyes.
Close your eyes, and then open your eyes and look away from the sun, and it resets your circadian rhythm. And that's your body works on a rhythm every day. So it's good to be outside.
So what can you guys tell me about our story trails? Because that's a good way for people to get outside while also combining literacy. What are they and where can they be found?
We got three, right? Okay, one at Chin Park. We have one at Central Green at Central Library. And we're
Independent Hill.
Independent Hill. And we're working on a fourth one at Haymarket Gainesville. Grounds had to get some stuff addressed before we could, get those put in. So, yeah, and you go to them basically, and there's a starting point. And as you read part of the book, you go to the next spot, and it's almost like you flip a page, but the next page of the book, the 2 pages or 1 page of the book is open, and you go on through and read the story as you have a nice outdoor little adventure along the trail.
And they're all kid-friendly books at kid-friendly heights.
Absolutely,
so, yeah.
Yep. They're little kiosks that are about 3.5 feet above the ground. So if you have little people, you won't hurt your back too much picking them up just a little bit to take a look. So they're awesome.
What can you tell me about our gardens?
We've got 6 pollinator gardens that do offer these opportunities for nature and for the public to enjoy those. And then Central Green is an outdoor space at Central Library, and it has various features for environmental education.
Yeah, that's great. And why are pollinator gardens so important?
The bees and butterflies, we so need these in our environment. They are just like critical for just our health of our community.
Without bees, no flowers.
I know.
Like fewer fruit on trees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
They're so important. What can you tell me about our seed libraries?
They are awesome. I know Potomac started one during COVID. It's like we had received a grant. We've got somebody wonderful that gets those grants for us. And so we had a volunteer that was like packaging the seeds for us during that time before we were even open to the public. So when we could open to the public, it was like great. We couldn't do the in-person programs for a while, but people could get the seeds. And we're not the only library. I know that Haymarket also has one that they're working on, and Montclair has one. And it's just a wonderful free opportunity just that teaches about nature. And just, it was such a joy. Last year, somebody brought in one of the things that they grew. It's like, which was like a cucumber, something from their garden. And it was like really neat that they brought us in and showed us. Although we do know that carrots are not that popular, at least in our library. It's like the seed packets. But yeah, it's wonderful just to really get to know, more about the environment, and just even for kids or adults. I've seen adults over there take them as well, just to be able to grow these. And it's like, even if you have an experience that you're not the best at growing things, it's like, this is like limited, investment.
Place to go is a library.
And
There's
it's free.
lots of books on how to do it.
Yeah, it's free. And one of my staff members recently did a plant cutting exchange. So that was very popular as well.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we have a lot of different gardens everywhere and story trails. Central Green at Central Library combines a story trail with a pollinator garden with a weather station to be a really cool environmental education programming space. I wanted to plug that we are hosting our annual Spring Festival on Central Green this Saturday, April 20th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's going to be exhibits from local community groups, a petting zoo, arts and crafts, and fun for the whole family. So do you guys have any parting thoughts or tips?
Just try to think about the future a little bit and how you want things to be, how you would want things to be, and I'm sure that's a positive way to think on how to move forward with the future. We're leaving it all behind to somebody.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say we see so much in the news about these concerns, and they are legitimate. And it's like, we definitely have the resources, but there's also a lot of good. They're like people at all different levels that are being good stewards of our resources, of our environment. And it's like, they really are doing this professionally, they're doing it personally, and they're bringing their passions into the library. And you can see a lot of these projects are definitely the result of somebody that really cared about this, and they brought that forward, and working with many different departments.
Leave it better than you found it.
Yep, true.
Thank you guys both so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Before we go, I wanted to thank our partners, our sponsors, our volunteers who have kept our sustainability programs going and have helped build and maintain our outdoor spaces. Next time you're at a green space or sit on a bench made of recycled plastic or attend a program, you can find a plaque or a sentence where we thank our sponsors and our supporters, and we couldn't do any of these things without them. I will close us out with a quote from the book referenced in the episode title, The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. There is no dishonor in losing the race. There is only dishonor in not racing because you are afraid to lose. Thanks for listening, and join us in 2 weeks for the next episode of Important Library Stuff.